We talked a long time ago now about email passwords and secrets and how to manage them when you've got multiple servers, and how to kind of export them to a file safely with encryption. So this is a continuation of this one. So I showed a demo on this a few months ago now, probably, and it's just kind of slowly getting back to it. But the idea was to abstract some of the places that we store and use secrets. For example, if we look at the email one, which was always the example we were using, here we have a password which gets stored with data protection, which is fine and encrypted at rest. But if I export this to my production server, the data protection keys are likely to be different, so the password no longer works, and it will throw an exception when you're working on it. So what I've come up with instead is the concept of having a secret, where you will select the secret to use there, and we manage that secret and the value of it as a value here, and we can choose where to store that. We can store it in a database secret store, or we can store it through configuration, which means that it's read-only rather than write as well. And we'll probably look at doing a key vault provider for it at some point as well. So that was email. One of the other things we wanted to touch on when we did it as well was workflows and forms. So if I find the form that I wrote, earlier on here. So normally when we have a form, we use an HTTP request event to kind of drive the form to the workflow. Well, my computer's going so slow today.
You need better headset to go faster.
Exactly. I need some Apple AirPods is what I need. So normally what we have is a token here, which is, again, protected with data protection. And we have the problem that when I use this in the form widget over here, that all works. But when I move it to my production server, it doesn't, because the token's no longer valid because it's been stored with a local data protection key. So we introduced a secret here as well, which is a workload secret, which, and actually let's create a new one because it's a nice little bit of UI. So if we create a new HTTP request, we can either select an existing one or create a new one. And if we create a new one, it will go away and make that for us. So kind of auto-generated. Or if we were to select an existing one, you'll get a little message here saying that the existing one doesn't belong to this activity, so you can choose to link it. But we won't do that because that will break my form. So what we can do now is if we go back to the form itself, we have the same picker here. We can either choose to send it to the action as you previously did, or send it to a controller action, or wherever you like. Or if you are using the secret module, you can pick your secret, and that will overwrite the action value here. So when we go to this form and view it, and for argument's sake, I'll delete that action. refresh the page. My form's a bit lazy, all it's got is a submit button. But it's now been able to submit to the workflow without knowing the exact URL, just by knowing the secret that it attaches to. So if we were to come down and actually have a look at some of these secrets that are down here now. The workflow one is the same kind of thing. You've got where it's stored, so we could move it to the configuration. We've got the picker here, so this just finds all the workflows that have an HTTP request event in them and makes them available when it's a starting activity, and the same settings for token size. The difference with this one is that the token is generated dynamically and cached in memory as the form, for example, is drawn. And the last thing we had to kind of look at is a more complex bit of it all, but is the how you can then export these as deployment plans and save them. So we have a concept of an RSA secret, and I'll show you this one in my configuration because I put it in configuration. So what I've done here is I've stored the public and private key in a configuration store. It's the key name, the private key, and the public key. I could put this in an environment variable, or we could have another store as well. And then when I go to do a deployment, I can now deploy these, and when they're exported, they'll be encrypted with the public key that's set here. And if I was to go to another tenant or another machine or a production server, you can see that there's no secrets here because I just deleted them. This is a different tenant called secret destination. And because I have the private key for decrypting it available in my configuration, I can now import this. Not with the JSON import though. Oh, not that one, because that's the wrong key. So I can now import that, and now I have the two secrets that I'd put in the file before when I was preparing for this. So if we looked at that recipe file, this one here, what we'll see, a couple of steps here, which I'll talk about in a second, but the secret, the text secret itself, which was the email secret, is encrypted here, uses a little decrypt method, and the private keys themselves don't actually go in this file. So it's safe to do the export as such, because you can now, and I know what will happen is as soon as somebody does this, they'll put this straight in Git. That's what would happen at our office, I'm sure, because they are set up for the system. But it now becomes a little bit safer because they won't actually be usable unless you've got this private key either installed on the machine or installed through configuration. So the choice of how to transmit it is up to you, but we don't transmit it. So the other thing this recipe did is it just turned on a couple of features. It made a binding to the configuration store for the export to file one, and then it was able to import the email secret. Yeah, the email secret here. Yeah, so that's pretty much what I wanted to show.
Cool. Why not the token for the workflow URL? Sorry, token, a filter or shortcode pattern instead of overriding whatever the action.
So last time we did this, I think a few months ago now, well, the first time we did this, you said use a liquid filter. So the next time we demoed it, I did a liquid filter, and you said, "No, don't do a liquid filter."
Good. That's a good answer. That's a perfect answer.
Which is actually better because the UI for this is much nicer and it's much cleaner. Having a filter was just another thing that somebody needs to understand in order to do something that should be quite simple.
I'm sure I said, how is the discoverability? How do I know which secrets I can do? And because it's two-step, and now you can list
on the wrong server. So what was happening before when we went to, say, this email one, for example, and to go here and type emails pipe to text secret.
So why not then force people to use a password secret and just provide a link to that or a pop-up or whatever to go there and then come back to the password to select the one they created in the store?
So probably this is about not breaking stuff at the moment. So I've kept the password there because that's what everybody's using at the moment. We could adapt this one as well so that it will actually go and create one for you, like I did with the workflows.
And typically the password, email password, that can be migrated because we can decrypt it.
Well, the email password, we could migrate it, but then we have to
create it.
We then have to encrypt it. So it's you can go both ways with it.
What I'm saying is that the migration could create the secret store, the entry in the secret store, and
so you migrate people to it, you mean?
Yeah, so they don't type the password anymore. We can just have the secret store, and you select what secret you want to use.
That's probably something we could do. Yeah.
So you see, because this UI is weird. The same way in the workflow where you have the action with a token, but well, if you type a password at the bottom, then this is the one that you're using.
Yeah, with the workflows, and I was thinking about this because this is worth talking about. We've got this handle incoming HTTP request, which has all this stuff here. So I almost made another one called secret incoming HTTP request, and split them out. And
okay, and in the same remark I will do is, why not just have one that will, when you generate a URL, because it has a secret, it will always generate it as a secret, and you can't see it unless you go to the secret store to see it. Or you can see it, but it's read-only because it's taken from the secret.
Yeah, so again, probably the reason for not doing that here was because these are not always used for workflows, and they're not always used for internal Orchard stuff. So you still need to have this one for the externals, I suppose.
Cool.
Because with the workflows. Yeah, that could work. I almost wonder if this one might be better as a separate activity or a new activity that just inherits from
yeah, one. I don't like the confusion here.
Yeah,
but yeah, maybe it's a different activity that is dedicated for generating a workflow, a form callback. Yeah,
maybe. An internal one, and leave this one alone, which is useful for
custom ones.
Custom ones.
And if the custom one wants to use a secret, I mean, you have the liquid stuff. Okay, but
Well, I got
or maybe the one should be called secret, whatever, secret base. As you said that. That's what you said. Okay, the secret HTTP request, secret, whatever.
Yeah,
okay.
because that can connect directly too. And what's the other thing? The other thing I have to figure out is a little bit on some of the dependencies with it, because at the moment recipes depend on it so that you can use this through setup, but I think I can probably get rid of that dependency just by having a null one so that it's not required. But yeah, that's a little bit of work to do, and Kevin's quite keen for the OpenID module to use the RSA stuff, because there's some little things with the certificates there that it would be better if they were in there. And at some point, it will not just be the email that has the option, but some of the other ones where we have passwords stored. I think I added them to.
And when you say email, you actually mean SMTP, right?
Yeah, I mean SMTP, because it's not just email; it's SMTP. So I've already added them to the remote instance. So this will choose which secret to use for signing and for encryption and for signing, and which secret to use for the actual API key. So it's the same thing. So we could migrate away from the API key and just move straight to secret.
Yeah. Perfect.
Cool. Any other thoughts?
That's good. Thank you very much.